Ladies and gentlemen, Google rolled out a couple of very important and highly requested features to Google Meet over the last 1 week. These features were especially in demand by the teachers who had some challenging groups of students, the students who would interrupt their classes, and the teachers had very little control on how to control those classes or how to respond to those interruptions. But in the last week, Google was able to roll out a couple of features in Google Meet that would help these teachers manage their classes well. But the important point to note here is that these features which have been rolled out have been introduced only to the meets that originate from Google Classrooms, not the general Google Meets that teachers have among themselves, or between the teachers and administration, or the Google Meets which are private. So only the Google Meets that originate from Google Classrooms will have these features. I'm going to introduce you some of those features, and I'll show you what those features are. So I'll take you to a classroom here. This is, for example, this is my classroom, and from here, if you click on this Google Meet link, it will open up a Google Meet like this one, and you'll be able to see a new icon at the bottom. This looks like more like a lock security type of lock icon. You click on that, and a tab will open up, and this tab has 3 new controls. For some of you, because Google is still rolling these features out, some of you may find share this screen and send chat messages as the only 2. But soon, if you have a Google Education account, you'll be able to see the third and the latest control feature that's called Quick Access. So you can now let everyone in your classroom, all of your students, share their screens, or you can stop them from sharing their screen. Likewise, you can allow them to send chat messages or disallow them from sending chat messages to everyone, depending upon the need of your classroom, because some students can really interrupt your work. And also, there is a new feature that's called Quick Access. Quick Access, what it does, it allows you to let students wait in what you call a waiting room, where you will receive a note first that a student wants to join in. You can see whether that student belongs to your classroom or not, and then allow them into your classroom. So these are the main security and control features. Very, very helpful, highly in demand. So I would suggest that you play around with these, practice some of these features, and see if they are valuable for you or not. In addition to these features, there are quite a few new features that Google Meet has announced. And if you click on these 3 little dots, this menu dots at the bottom right of Google Meet, what you will see here is my favorite, cast this meeting. Meaning, now you can cast this meeting using a Google Chromecast, a small device that are $35, $30, $40, $50 device that you get, or Chromecast Ultra. You can now cast this meeting on a large screen TV. An excellent feature. Pedagogically, it has a highly recommended feature, meaning because you're teaching from home, instead of looking at those small little icons of students, or small little tabs where you can't even see who is there, if you are casting your meets, casting your classes on a large screen TV, it makes it much more interactive, much more engaging with these students, where you can see their expressions, because student body language and student expressions are part of effective teaching. So I would highly recommend to use this feature using a cast on a large screen TV, and enjoy looking at your students like they are there. So this is the best alternative to on-campus teaching. If you can have the larger screen you have, the better it is. I would suggest go for, if you can't invest in on a large screen TV, you can use a projector. The projectors are available still for $300, $400, $500. You can get a projector and you can project it to any size, 120 inch, 150 inch. You can stretch it on a wall or on a screen depending upon the availability of a clean wall in your house. You can display an entire classroom on a large screen. Great feature that you can use, and I highly recommend that. The second is a whiteboard or a Jamboard. This is a Google feature. It wasn't there before. Jamboard is a Google application on mobile devices. Your students would have to download. You would have to download a Jamboard, but on a Chromebook or on a Mac or on a window. Just you click on whiteboard, and it will allow you the options. You can start a new whiteboard, or you can start working on an existing whiteboard, because it's going to save all the whiteboard work that you and your students do collaboratively, concurrently. You can use that and share it. And once this whiteboard opens, it's just like a whiteboard, and all your students would see. The link will go in the chat. The link to this online whiteboard or Jamboard will pop up in the chat messages, on the sidebar of the chat messages. When you open the chat messages, if you see this whiteboard link has opened up. So this is what you do. You click on that, and the whiteboard opens up in another browser, or you can open up the whiteboard right here. So in this whiteboard, you have all these options. You can use different kinds of pens. You can use a marker, you can use a highlighter, or you can use a brush depending upon your need and changing the color of your writing. So I've used a pen here, and I can start drawing if I need to draw anything on a whiteboard, and your students can also draw whatever you ask them to. You can also type in a question. For example, you come in the morning, you ask them to start answering a to-do, do now kind of a thing, or if you ask them to answer a certain opening question or in the middle of a lesson, depending upon the question. For example, what's the definition of beauty? So you can expand this, and you can enlarge this. You can also change the size of this question by using the font here, and you can also change the color. Very important. You can also change the background of this Jamboard or whiteboard depending upon what you're teaching. For example, if you're teaching a math lesson, you can use a graph paper background, or if you're using a science subject, you can just use darts and make, or a technology class, you can use all these darts as a background, and your students will work on that. Now, when your students are working, whatever they are typing and whatever they are writing, that will also show up here as a note, or as a whichever way you want. So you can see this is a sticky note. They can use it here, and very interesting here that your students can also now answer that question. For example, the definition of beauty, that's a question. So they can Google search the definition of beauty, and the device, the images, the responses that come in, they can click on that, and they can select, and the image will also pop up as one of the responses. It does take a couple of minutes because it is downloading from the internet and uploading it to your Jamboard, so it will take a couple of seconds before the image shows up here. Once the image shows up, it is taking longer than expected, but it will show up. I have tested in other places. Yes, it will show up. It may take a little while. You don't need to share anything. You don't need to send this Jamboard to anybody. It will automatically be saved in your drive. You can name it. For example, instead of all this jumbo mumbo that you see here, as a name of this Jamboard, you can name it for the date. So for example, today's September 20th, so September 20th Jamboard, or September 20th Dr. Saleem's Jamboard. So whatever you want to call it, you can name it, and it will be saved in your Google Classroom, Google Drive, which students can access. And like you saw in the beginning, when you start a new Jamboard, it gives you the option. You want to open up an existing Jamboard, or you want to work on a new Jamboard. Depending upon the need, you can choose either one, either a new Jamboard or an existing Jamboard. Now, let's say if a student has put in something inappropriate, not relevant to classroom, and you want to delete the whole thing. Very simple. Come to this, what they call clear frame. You clear this frame, everything is gone. Change the background, make everything black. So, depending upon the need, it's a great interactive feature that has just come to Google Meets. I would highly recommend this. This is what makes your online classrooms more engaging. This is what makes them more interactive. And that is one of the best practices of effective teaching, keeping them engaged and interactive. So, we're going back to our Meet. The next feature that you see here in the new feature is, naturally, you can record meetings. If your district has purchased, by the way, this recording feature was available for free from Google until September 30th. But if you want to continue recording all your meetings, your district must purchase the next level directly with Google, and then you can continue recording these meetings. Very interesting, and I've tested this. The Breakout Rooms feature. Now you can have as many rooms as you want, as like a small group rooms, breakout rooms, whatever you want to call it. You can use all these features of one-to-one instruction, wherein you want to talk to somebody. It's like an equivalent of can we talk in the hallway for a minute? You take a student out and talk to them in the hallway. This is an equivalent of that with the use of this feature of breakout rooms. Once you have enough number of students in here, it will allow you to drag these people. For example, if I'm dragging myself from the main room to the breakout room 1, I can rename this breakout room to, let's say, small group 1. So I can name it something else. Or you want to call it John's room, or you want to call it special ed room, or you want to call it one-to-one instruction room. So you can name it whatever you want, and you can keep dragging as many people in between these rooms, and it will. And don't forget to create room. Once you create room, you see this, it will ask you, and it will ask the people you put in those breakout rooms. It will ask them, do you want to join that breakout room? So the breakout room is a highly desirable feature for small group instruction. So I would say use it effectively. If a student comes in late, you can ask them to come in, can we meet you in the breakout room? Let the students get used to small breakout room conversations. This could be a mini lesson, this could be a feedback that you want to give to a certain student on an assessment or an assignment. So you can use these breakout rooms in a number of ways. Excellent. And also you can use this for interactive small group collaborative work among students. You can use that too. So a great new feature. The next feature that I want to talk about, this is more to do with the layout. If you have a large group of students, if you remember in the past, you were able to see only 6 or 9 students. Now, if you change the layout, you have many different options. You can have an automatic layout wherein the person who is speaking will be the main person on the screen. You can also have the tiled one. The tiled one is is a feature, the layout feature that is especially helpful if you have a large group of students. So it will, for example, if for by default, if it is at 16 number of students that you can see, you can bring it up to 49 students all the time. But remember that on a small screen, 49 students you can see. They will look like small stamps. You can't use. You can't be looking at those stamps and have an interaction with those students. So that's why I keep recommending, and the other researchers, I spoke to Dr. Sugata Mitra. He's also recommending, he's an authority on online teaching. He's also recommending to use very large screen. I'm talking about the room size screen. If you can use, you will have, you can interact with these students with more energy, just like you're there. You can also use Spotlight. Spotlight is more like you are pinning that one screen right there. So it will be one screen. Either you or the person who is speaking will be there. Sidebar, in the sidebar you have certain number of icons or stamps or tabs on the side where you can see some people who are more interactive, more recent interaction, and the main speaker will be the screen. So depending upon your need, play around with these layouts and choose the one that you feel like using. And my new favorite is what I call turn on background blur. So now we'll try this right now. So we are teaching from home, all kinds of circumstances and environments we are in. Sometimes you don't want to show your background, if you're in the kitchen, if you're in the laundry room, or there's your pets are running around. So let's try. And I'm not sitting in ideal light condition because as I'm sitting in the sun, a lot of light here. I'm not sure if the software would be able to detect me from my background or not, but we can try. I've tried it indoors. It works fine. So it will only show you and it will blur out the background. Let's try this one. Oh, this is done pretty well. So if you see, you can see me and you can see, you cannot see my hands. Or maybe you can see my hand too. So anything that is moving, it is showing you. But anything that is static in the background, it has taken that out. So a great new feature. Still is not as robust or as clear as the Zoom's background removal, but something great, something to start with, something is a good beginning. So if this feature is coming to you from Google Meet as a free tool, as a free feature, use it. And I believe the last one, which is not a new feature, it has been there before, turning on captions. When you turn this on, your captions, whatever you're speaking, will be captured and will be translated. Very helpful for students who cannot either keep their speaker on, if they're sitting at home and the parent is sleeping behind them. This kind of feature is very helpful to respect the integrity of your teaching and also the convenience and the comfort of the people. Not everyone would have a dedicated room for learning and teaching. Some of our students live with other siblings, with parents. They are in the same room. If you don't want to disturb them, ask them to turn the captions on. Once you have the captions on, whatever you're speaking will be translated, will be transcribed on the screen, and students will be able to see that. So I'm turning it off right now. So for now, these were the few new features in Google Meet. I will also share with you some of the new features that Google has rolled out in Google Classroom. But Google Meet features are the new additions, highly in demand, highly interactive. They have the pedagogical relevance to make your distance teaching from home and remote teaching more effective and more engaging. So all the good luck for you. Wish you the best of teaching from home. Until next time. Bye-bye.